Very good morning, students. Namaste. I am Dr. Shruti Mishra. I am Assistant Professor and the Coordinator in the Department of Management and Commerce, Faculty of Law and Governance in Jyoti Vidyapeeth, Women's University, Jaipur. Students, today's class is on industrial labor and law, industrial and labor law, and today we will going to discuss the first topic and the first and the foremost topic of your syllabus, that is the Employee Provident Fund. So, do you know that the Employee Provident Fund is just not the fund; it is an act which has been stated on the year 1952. So, this is the Employees Provident Fund Act 1952. Now we'll talk about today the Employees Fund Act 1952, as well as the employees' roles and responsibility on Employees Provident Fund Act. I mean, what are the points which has been mentioned already on in the employer's point of view, that how much contribution that the employer will do, and and similarly like that there are so many things. So we'll discuss it later on this session. Now we'll start with the introduction. Salary consists two parts. First one is earning, and other one is deductions. So the provident fund is one of these statutory deduction done by the employer at the time of the salary payment. Now, the Provident Fund is governed by the Employees Provident Fund Act 1952. Provident Fund is basically has come up with into the force to give the better future to the employees on their retirement and his dependents as well in the case of his death during the employment. So basically, this Provident Fund has been started just because of the reason to help the employees and the employees dependent persons, or the in the case of the death of the employees in the course of the employment. So in that particular case, the provident fund, or which we usually say as a PF, we provide to the, or the employer provide to the employer. The Employees Provident Fund Act 1952 is compulsory contributory fund for the future of an employee after the retirement, or for his dependents in the case of his early death, as we have discussed earlier. Now, this act is applicable to all the states of the India except Jammu and Kashmir. Now, here is the case. Uh, Now, after the removal of the Act 9, Act 370, now the point is that this act probably would be applicable to the to the state of Jammu and Kashmir as well. So right now I can't say about this, that this act is applicable to the Jammu and Kashmir now, because now the next planning, now the planning commission, or you can say the Niti Aayog, will going to discuss about this, and will going to we will get to know about this particular thing, that whether this act is applicable to the Jammu and Kashmir or not. So now the next point that we come up to the application part. Every industry employing the 10 or the more persons, around 180 industries are specified in the Schedule 1 of the Act. So, in these particular companies, this particular Act is applicable. Those companies which are employing 10 or the more persons. Now, the next point says every industry employing 10 or the more persons which the central government may notify. I mean, the central government, to whom the central government notify, if the central government notifies certain of the organizations or the companies, or the 10 or more organizations, or 10 or more people, there this act will be followed. Any organization or the establishment notified by the central government, even if the employment less than the 10%. So the 10% is the criteria. If the less than 10% 10 people are there, or 10 employees are working over there in the organization, then the if the central government will notify those organizations or companies, so they need to follow the Provident Fund Act. Now, what is the eligibility and the entitlement? We'll study that as well. Every employee a contractor who is in the receipt of the wage are eligible to become the member of the fund. So basically, who are receiving the receipt or who are getting the receipt, right? So those persons are eligible to uh, uh, to are basically eligible to be the member of this act or this particular fund. Irrespective of the permanent or the probationary employees, all the employees are eligible for joining as the PF scheme from the date of the joining of the service. So there is no impact of the person is uh, the person is permanent or the person is probationary. There is no rule applied on the both of the things. The only rule which is applied, that is the PF is applicable for all the employees, all segments or all the classes of the employees, you can say. Now, next point says of the eligibility, minimum 10% of the basic pay for the establishment employee less than 10%, SIC industries declared by the necessary authority like the jute, PD, coir, and the guar gum industries of the factories. So minimum 10% of the basic pay for the establishment employed less than 10%. So if there are less than 10% of the employees are employed with the basic pay of less than 10%, so those are called as in sick industries declared by the necessary authority like jute, beedi, brick, coir, guar, gum industries. Right? Now the next point says other industries maximum 12% of the basic pay. Now those industries, now these 2 points need to be very clear. Those industries which are giving the which are very sick industries, as we can say that the beedi industry or the brick industry or the coir industry, these industries pay the 10% of the basic pay of the employees basic pay to the PF. I mean, the employer provide the 10% of the basic pay in the provident fund. Now, the other industries maximum pay of 12% of the basic. Now, other than the sick industries, 12% of the basic pay need to be apply on the employers, and they need to give their 12% of the amount to the employees for their PF. The next point says a member can contribute voluntarily more than statutorily prescribed rate, which will be transferred to his PF account, your provident fund account. Now, next, we will talk about the benefits of the Employees Provident Fund Act. Employees can take the advances, withdraw the PF in the case of the retirement, medical care, housing, family obligation. I mean, in these many things, in these many criteria, the PF can be withdrawn, or the PF can be taken by the employees uh, advance, as an advance payment. Up to 90% of the PF amount can be withdrawn at the age of 54 or more, or before 1 year of the actual retirement. Now, the employee whose age is 59, right? That employee can get the PF if he wants to withdraw. If he wants to withdraw the money, with the before the maturity date, he can withdraw the money at the age of 59, or or more than the year of 54, then he can withdraw the money. There is no issue related to it. Now the PF amount of the deceased member is payable to the nominees or the legal heirs. Now the PF amount is only be disseminated or only being given to the actual deceased person, that person on whose the account is already been there, or to his legal nominees or to the legal heirs. The next one is to immediate income tax exemption under section 80C of the IT Act, Income Tax Act. Equal contribution by the employer has also been there. Yeah, I mean 12% has been given by the employee, and the 12% contribution has been given by the employer as well. So there is like both the contribution should be same. received by the employee at the age of 60, or if we want to withdraw the money before the age of 60. Interest rate is usually higher than the prevailing market rate. The present market rate, you know about it, that is 8.5. I'm talking about in year 2 years back. So I'm not sure about this particular rate is going on or not. PF amount account can be transferred if any member changes from one establishment to other where the PF scheme is applicable. Now, what is the nomination of the how the nomination has been done? The member can nominate other person or the persons to receive the fund in the event of his death. Means the employee can nominate the person or the persons who receive the amount or who receive the fund in case of the death of the employee. The nomination details provided by the members are uh, maintained at the Regional Provident Fund Office to use the event of the death of the member. Now, let's. The other section is about the employer roles and responsibility. This session is quite long, so we'll have to discuss the employer roles and responsibility and employee roles and responsibility in the next session. So I think, guys, you like this video, and I hope it was lucrative for you. So thank you so much, students. Have a great day. If you have any query related to this particular video, please do let me know. I'll definitely try to sort your problems. Thank you so much, students. Have a great day.